everyone, welcome back to Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, part of Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a brand new sacred channeling. This one has been on my radar for a couple of weeks now, and I'm going to set the stage and explain why. But first, I want to share that I woke up this morning to a lot of snow on the ground, and it feels like that is serendipitous because it feels like that's almost like the antithesis to this energy that we're going to be channeling. It feels like it is tempering this energy that we're going to be channeling. Snow energy feels like it is a fresh energy. It's a reset, a restart, a reboot. When snow falls to the ground and layers the landscape, it has this energy of quiet, healing, solitude. And now, obviously, depending on where you are in the world, you might not be experiencing the same weather. But for the sake of this channeling, for the sake of this video, we're going to tap into that energy to kind of help temper some of the energies that might be coming through here. I do want to say that this is not a political video. We look at everything from a ascension landscape, from an higher energetic perspective. You can call it the soul's perspective. When we do our channelings here, when we do our teachings and providing that guidance, it's always coming from that unity perspective, that middle path, walking that middle way. Transcending that duality so that there is that middle way. There's only the middle way. So we're always looking at it from that higher soul's perspective, from that vantage point. I did pull two cards. We're using the Angels, Gods, and Guidances, Angels, Gods, and Goddesses Oracle deck. And I did pull two cards just to kind of set the stage. And I do feel like with everything that I was given already, that I feel like this is going to play a part. So we have Angel of Addiction Healing. This is a time of positive transformation and healing. And on the bottom of the deck, we had the Goddess of Oneness. So I'm just going to keep this here and we'll come back to that towards the end of the channeling. We're going to look at some astrology to kind of set the stage as far as why it's important, why this is a turning point, and why today feels like it's a pivotal time. Again, I never anticipate doing these channelings. I get some of the information, I write it down in my book of notes as it comes through to me. But then I just get the green light. Spirit says go, and I hit record and I start channeling. So we're going to look at some of the astrology that's happening right now and why it is important for this time and space. And we're going to also share some of how this video came to be. And you know what, I'll start with that. So some of you might be familiar with the 1983 film War Games, starring Matthew Broderick, Ali Sheedy's in it. It is a really fun game, and it was kind of like ahead of its time for the time period as far as like technology and the even you could say the politics behind that. Again, this is not a politic or a political video. So the whole premise of the movie is Matthew Broderick plays a high school student who's trying to change his grade. He's kind of like a hacker, computer hacker, and he ends up hacking into the government database. And he sees a list of games, so he's playing these games. There's chess, there's checkers, etc. And then there's a game called Global Thermonuclear Warfare. And he starts playing this game, and this game starts kind of taking on a mind of its own. You can say that's an argument for AI or against AI. Interesting in this landscape as well, this time and space that we're in as well, isn't it? So it's actually activating nuclear and threatening nuclear war. And the reason why we're doing this video, the reason why this came into my consciousness is I saw a meme and they had me save it on my computer, and it's a screenshot of the movie, and the crux of the movie, and I'm going to spoil it for you guys. The crux of the movie is the only way to win is not to play. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Let's get into the astrology of what's happening here and what's happening now, and why this is really a turning point for transformation collectively. So today is February 13th. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Remember just to tap into the energy of love. Love is not just about relationships. It's about the love that you hold within yourself. It's the love that you express within the world. It's love for your animals, for your family, for your friends, for yourself, for the world at large. So just tap into that energy. And it's really important that we're tapping into the energy versus the energy of lack or the energy of scarcity. The more that we tap into the energy of love and we emit that vibration, we emit that frequency of love, the more the collective consciousness begins to change. So today, February 13th, Mars is moving out of the sign of Capricorn and into Aquarius. This is a 6-week cycle where we are being more driven towards freedom, innovation. We're breaking through constraints and blocks. This is a really powerful and pivotal moment for inner transformation, particularly. And the more that we allow ourselves to transform internally, the more that has a ripple effect on the collective, on the world at large. Because the more that we are changing our reactions, our patterns, our programs, that is such a rebellious act in and of itself, isn't it? And Aquarius can really be almost like the rebel of the zodiac. You can say that Aries is kind of like the rebel of the zodiac because Aries, which is also Mars, is kind of like the daring, the risk taker. But Aquarius, being the innovator, really being that bid for humanitarianism, really being that bid for authenticity, really can be that rebellious energy as well. And what is a most sacred and rebellious act than your own inner transformation, your own personal transformation, to shift the programs, to change the beliefs, to embody higher consciousness? That is truly the most rebellious, revolutionary act that we can do in the world. Mars is also conjunct with Pluto, and the reason why this is such a huge transit is because Pluto is known as kind of like the god of the underworld. So Pluto also marks huge transformations. It's bringing anything that was hidden to light, and they're reminding me that I had just channeled a message. I was falling asleep last night, and I channeled a phrase, and it was, "Until it's revealed, it can't be healed." The phrase, "until it's revealed, it cannot be healed." And so that's where the transformation is coming from. That's where Pluto is helping through this transformation. And remember that as you transform within yourself, it creates a collective transformation. It's a cause and effect. And that's one of the laws of the universe. It's this cause and effect. Everything is interconnected. And you are a part of the whole. Even though we are individuals, even though we have our own personalities, even though we have our own traits, etc., our own embodiments, we're all aspects of the same whole. What they're showing me now, I always use the analogy that we are unique threads in the tapestry of creation. What they're showing me now, it's kind of like this. They're showing me like a gemstone. And imagine that there is an infinite number of faces, smooth facets of this. This whole gemstone is that God source energy. This whole gemstone is the universe. And you are a facet of the universe. You're an aspect of the universe. Now imagine there is an infinite number of these. That is everyone here. And everybody plays their role. So even though you are a unique expression of that God source energy, of that universe energy, you also make up that same energetic consciousness. So going back to the transformation energy of Pluto, as you shift within yourself, as you transform within yourself, which again is the most rebellious act that we can do to create a change in this world, is going to help to shift the collective energy, because again, you're changing your programs, you're changing your beliefs. And beliefs are things that we have or created through upbringing, things that are passed down through generations, through ancestry, things that are created as a society, beliefs that you create within your own experiences. But beliefs are able to shift. That's the neuroplasticity of the mind. Beliefs are able to shift as your perspective shifts. Part of the ascension journey is understanding that the deeper we go into our ascension, it's that inner spiral, the deeper we go into the soul of ourselves, pulling up all that soul sludge. And that soul sludge, as I like to call it, is all of that gunk, the programming, the mindsets, the patterns, the beliefs that might have served at one point in time. We don't negate that. It might have served us at one point in time. But as we shift in consciousness, it might not be serving us anymore. And it's the energy of the more you know, the more there is to know. You're always that teacher, you're always that student at the same time, where you might be leading the way for others, you might be guiding others, you might be through your own embodiment of that new level of consciousness, but you're always learning as well. The universe is always teaching you, and you're always helping to be that leader and be that guide for others. And that's where the shift is created. That's where the more that we shift within ourselves, it has that cause and effect with the collective consciousness. Imagine if we're looking at the energy of war, for example, imagine if the more we found peace within ourselves, the more that rippled out and the more people said no to war and yes to peace, because we were feeling that peace within ourselves, because that's what we were driven towards, because that is our true core. They're bringing me to the 1960s and 1970s, and that's historically when the Civil War was, or the Civil War, that's historically when the Vietnam War was. And interesting that I said the Civil War, because what is a Civil War but a division, right? It's an us versus them. But in the 60s and the 70s, how many people were standing up? How many people were advocating for peace? Love, not war. Make love, not war, right? That began a huge consciousness shift. If you go back even further, if you go back to, for example, World War II, there was a heightened sense of patriotism and a heightened sense of even nationalism. And what began to shift was that shift in consciousness, the beginning of that age of Aquarius, right? Again, that make love, not war. People began to understand that there was a different way, that we didn't have to sacrifice, we didn't have to fight, that there could be peace. And so we're seeing that on a grander scale, on a bigger stage now. We're seeing that with a greater level of collective awakening now. This is what the ascension journey is. It's a greater level of awakening. And people are going to be at different phases of their awakening journey. And for those of you who are on the ascension journey, it is a deeper dive into recognizing that you don't shift things from the outside in. That just creates more chaos, that just creates more destruction. You create, you shift, you heal even from the inside out. Your journey, your inner journey, your personal journey has an impact on the greater scale, on the collective consciousness. And so going back to this transformation energy, what is hidden must be revealed. You have to reveal it in order to heal it. And so when we're looking at our healing journey, when we're looking at triggers, we might be triggered on our journey. I'm going to reiterate that. I'm going to rephrase that. We will be triggered on our healing journey. But the more we are consciously aware of those triggers, we recognize that our triggers are a bid from our soul self to reflect and go within to heal. The triggers are only showing you where the wound is. The triggers are only showing you where your soul is wanting more love, where to bring more love. It's that Leonard Cohen quote of the wound is where, the crack is where the light comes in, right? So the same thing is for the trigger. You can look at the trigger as like the shadow, if you're doing like shadow work. The shadow, the other side of the shadow is the light, and it's not about looking just at the shadows, but you have to look at the light of yourself too, and you have to integrate the two. That's what that healing journey really is about. And remember too, that healing, you're never broken. You're never broken. That's a shift too. The healing journey is just a remembrance of who you are without all that programming, without the patterns, without the beliefs, the old beliefs. And again, the ascension journey is constant. What are you doing, you crazy? My cat's being crazy. The ascension journey is a constant going deeper within yourself, a constant shift in understanding. Again, the more you think you know, the more there is to know, and the more you learn. They keep bringing me this analogy of a man. What is the metaphor? A man can never step into the same river twice, because he's not the same man and it's not the same river. You're constantly growing, you're constantly changing. And they always bring it to me as a metaphor for culture because I love the arts. So if you're listening to the same music and getting the same interpretation out of it, if you're reading the same book and translating it in the same way, if you are watching the same film and the messages are the same, then there's a stagnant energy within you, right? Then you're not growing, then you're not learning, because art and culture is a reflection of humanity, a reflection of our humanity and our spirituality. It's a reflection of our inner growth. Art is such a profound medium in that it grows with us. So when we're looking at paintings, when we're listening to music, when we are reading books, when we are watching films, for example, we're always going to get something new out of it, hopefully, for how it resonates with us. And that's what resonance is. It's tapping into a truth that you're feeling within yourself, a truth that you're learning about yourself, some kind of understanding, and that understanding just goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And so it's reflecting to you your own growth. You're always going to get something new out of it, hopefully, because you're always going to keep evolving, to keep growing. So the triggers are there to show you where the wound still is, for that healing, for that growth, for that evolution, and even for that expansion. And it's where you offer yourself more love. You don't just look at the shadows and you're like, oh, that's just my shadow. You have to integrate that back into the light. What's unconscious becomes conscious, so that with that awareness, and that awareness is your superpower, with that awareness, you can allow for that shift. You can create that change. Maybe you change your behaviors. Maybe you change your habits. Maybe you change your beliefs. Maybe you change your perspectives or your mindsets. But it creates a change, and that change is growth. That change is evolution. That change is expansion. And that's all energy. That's all felt within us. So you're looking at where the shadow is, or looking at where the wound is, to integrate that back into the light. And I also want to mention that sometimes if you're looking at the trigger, if you're looking at the mirror, for example, what is this showing me? You're looking at the reflection. What is this actually showing me? What is this actually telling me? Sometimes the mirror is a direct reflection. If somebody's angry, where am I anger? Or okay, if somebody's expressing anger, let's put it that way. Let's use our words. Let's use our proper vocabulary. If somebody is expressing anger, where am I angry? Or sometimes it's an indirect reflection. For example, if somebody's expressing anger, where do I need to cultivate more peace within myself? Or where do I need to stand up for myself or express myself? So the mirror can sometimes be direct reflection, or it can sometimes be an indirect reflection, and that's where you have to use your discernment, and that's where you're required to do the deeper work. That's where you're being asked to do the deeper work, to reflect, to explore, not to hold on to anything, but to observe. And we'll get into that towards the end of the video. I have some tips for navigating these energies as well. Okay, so Mars conjunct Pluto is a force for evolution. Again, Pluto is the underworld. It is the god of the underworld. It is anything that's hidden being revealed. Again, what's revealed needs to be healed, etc. You can't heal it unless you reveal it. But with Pluto energy, it's also a marked turning point, because you can't go back with Pluto. Once you start that transformation, you can't go back. No, you can resist it. You can resist that internal transformation, but that's only going to prolong it. Your soul, remember, your soul is longing for that evolution. Your soul is desiring that expansion. It's just our ego minds that hold us back into what we know, into the familiar patterns, familiar behaviors, familiar habits, familiar whatever. It's just our egos that hold us back, but our soul is longing for the evolution. Our soul is longing for change. Now, you also do have to be patient with yourself, because it's a process. You have to have a lot of compassion for yourself and others, not to force it, not to push it. But if you are trusting your intuition, if you are following the path of your soul, then it is happening at the pace that is perfect for you. So not forcing anything, not pushing anything, not putting pressure on anything, but also not resisting anything. And in that in-between space, that acceptance is your surrender. It is that divine surrender where you are having that faith and having that trust within your own soul to help you navigate at the pace of your journey that you're meant to be on. So, with Mars conjunct Pluto, again, a force for evolution, transformation. Mars, let's talk about Mars for a second. Mars is number one, Aries energy. And so Mars is really that warrior energy. Mars is action, assertiveness, daring, risk taking. And with this energy, especially with the Aquarius energy, it's collective. Aquarius is for the collective. Again, that humanitarian energy. And so Mars can also, with that Aries energy, can bring about a lot of intensity and passion. Mars can also bring about some conflict. It can bring about some aggression, again, that assertiveness energy. But if we're looking at the higher aspect, the higher spectrum of that Aries energy, it's intensity and it's passion. Now, if we are conscious of ourselves, aware of ourselves, that can be for the greater good. Again, the lower vibrational, the lower aspects of that aggression, conflict. But if we look at the higher aspects, that intensity and passion can be channeled into something for the greater good. So this is what moves us collectively forward. That intensity and that passion has the power, if channeled for the greater good, to move us collectively forward. And you can apply that to your individual life as well. Because remember, it's all interconnected, macro and micro. So whatever we're applying to the collective, you can apply to your individual journey. And whatever you're applying to your individual journey can be applied to the greater collective because it ripples out. As you shift within yourself, it collectively changes the world. So when we're saying it moves us collectively forward, it can move you individually forward on your journey as well, as long as you're channeling that intensity and that passion, that action, that daring, that risk-taking into positive forward momentum. Okay, so at the end of the week, we're also having Venus move into Pluto. Now, Venus is the other end of the spectrum from Aries, and that's a beautiful, that's a really beautiful yin-yang energy. So Venus is Libra Taurus. It's the energy of beauty, harmony, peace, balance. Venus is, again, the other end of the spectrum. So if you're looking at the zodiac, you have Aries, and 6 months apart from that is that Libra energy. Venus is that Libra Taurus energy, which creates a really earthy energy, and that tempers the fire of Mars, that tempers the Aries energy in a really beautiful, profound way. And they're telling me the phrase celestial twins, reminding me of that phrase. I was just talking about Gemini with a friend, and Gemini is a sign of the celestial twins. But they're channeling that phrase because that's what this feels like. It feels like the celestial twin energy. Because it is that yin yang energy, because it is that pure balance, Venus and Mars. So Venus is also going to be conjunct Pluto. So Venus is going to temper some of this energy, balance out some of this energy. And again, that's the beautiful masculine and feminine balance, the beautiful masculine feminine union. So Venus, magnetism. It's magnetism with lovers, with friends. It looks at our desire, our need to be loved, our need to love and express that love. Be mindful, they said, of lower aspects of self-destructive patterns, especially in relationships, because this transit has the capability to transcend old patterns and transform your life. So especially with Mars being in conjunct in Pluto and Mars being in the energy of Aquarius, and also with Venus is going to help temper that energy a little bit, balance out that energy with more harmony. But it could also bring up, again, with the energy of Pluto and transformation, it could also bring up some old patterns, some old habits, some old programming, beliefs, again that some of that soul sludge, to be healed, to be shifted, to be transformed. So just be mindful of any lower aspect energies that might be coming up for your awareness. And again, your awareness is your superpower. The more conscious you are, the more you're not going to act out hopefully, you're not going to act out of those patterns, act out of those programs, act out of those beliefs. And remember, programs, it's unconscious. So that's where you be very compassionate for yourself too. You don't know what you don't know. So if in the past you were acting out of that unconscious, it's because it was a program that was running in the past. But as you become aware of it, that becomes then your responsibility to transform that. Your consciousness is your superpower, your awareness is your superpower, but then becomes your responsibility as a conscious being to then create that change within your physical world, within yourself, to shift, to continue that shift. So this transit as a whole, the Mars conjunct Pluto and Venus conjunct Pluto has the ability for amazing breakthroughs within ourselves, within our relationships, within the collective, to transcend those old patterns and really make I'm hearing a revolutionary change for our lives, individually and collectively. Okay. Then, we've talked a little bit about this transit. We have the Venus-Mars conjunction next week, which is February 20th to the 22nd. And so this is, we had talked about this in terms of twin flames and sacred union. So for those of you who are on the sacred union path of ascension, this is going to be especially significant for you. But even if you're not on that sacred union path of ascension, if you're just going through the ascension journey, only take it as it's relative to you, as it resonates for you. This is a turning point. This is a shift. For those who are on the sacred union path of ascension, whether this is union within yourself or union with a partner, the significance is the momentum. The significance is the union energies. I'm hearing this convergence energy coming together. They had showed this to me a long, long time ago in a reading, the yin-yang symbol. But they showed it to me as like two separate pieces. And that is that separation consciousness. And union is the merging together of the yin and the yang symbols, kind of like those two pieces locking into place so that it's like the wheel of destiny starts turning. And that has a profound ripple effect, again, on the collective energies, on the collective shift. Because that union energy, that balance of the masculine and the feminine, the balance of the yin and the yang, that union energy is unconditional love. It is absolute unconditional love. And what you've been doing on this journey, on this path of sacred union, is you've been clearing out any of the patterns that is the conditioning, any of the beliefs that is the conditioning, any of the fears that is the conditioning, any of the old resistance that is the conditioning. And you're returning to the energy of love and oneness, and that is the yin-yang energy. So we had talked about that in the previous sacred channeling. I think I called it New Cycle of Union Begins or something like that. And we had also channeled the energy of Tantra. We gotten a card about Tantra, so we channeled the energy of Tantra, and Tantra is the weaving together. Threads of fate now being woven. And it was the weaving of the physical with the spiritual, the weaving of the spiritual with the physical, which is also what we're doing on this ascension journey. We are bridging the spiritual aspects of ourselves, our multidimensional nature, whatever it is that you want to call it, with our human being. And that's what embodiment is. Embodiment is embodying that higher consciousness, that higher frequency, that higher level of love. And so it's the weaving of the two. So that's especially important for conscious connections and love relationships, bringing in more harmony, cooperation, balance, reciprocity, bringing in more union, more of that union energy. And that's what it's about. And the union within sacred partnerships, the union within connections creates, again, has that ripple effect for that unity consciousness, for that union with all. So your conscious connections, your sacred partnerships, they have an impact on what is happening in the greater collective. That's the ripple effect. And the more that union energy comes together, the balance of the masculine and feminine, again, within yourself, in conscious connection and sacred partnership relationships, the more that comes together, you're setting that new template. You're setting the new blueprint of what healthy conscious relationships are, what unconditional love is. And again, that has a ripple effect on the collective consciousness. Okay, so all of these astrological transits are having a huge impact on this ascension shift, on this collective shift. And it just depends on, which path up the mountain you're going. If you're going up this ascension journey or undergoing this ascension journey through a sacred union, partnership, where you're catalyzing each other for the growth, for the healing, for the love, or if you are experiencing that within your own individual journey, everybody has a different path. That's where the individuality comes in, and that's where it's really beautiful, the individuality, right? That individuality on this ascension journey creates more of that unity consciousness, because that's where we're heading towards. We're recognizing again that we are all facets of that one source energy. So let's go back to war games. The only way to win is not to play. I channeled a couple of messages around this. When we're looking at the world as it is now, we see so much chaos, so much destruction, and so much division. And Kali Ma is actually stepping in, and let me just talk about Kali Ma for a minute. Kali Ma is that fierce warrior energy. She is a divine mother, but she's a very fierce warrior energy, and she tends to be seen sometimes in a negative light because she is that destructive force. But she's also that creative force. She is that oneness. Kali Ma is the destruction to create. You can't have an ending without a beginning. You can't have destruction without creation. Let's reverse that. You can't have a beginning without an ending. You can't have a creation without a destruction. The old has to be cleared away, and that's the destruction that creates the new beginning. And so Kali Ma is also this fiercely compassionate energy, fiercely loving energy, but she's also that warrior energy. She will come through and kind of knock down that tower moment, knock down any foundations that are not on stable footing, any foundations that are not for the greatest and highest good, your greatest and highest good, or the collective greatest and highest good. That's part of the destruction. That's what we're seeing now. So when we look at the collective energy now, we're seeing so much of that division. But that division is that separation consciousness. And what we're doing is we are almost like destroying that separation consciousness through our own ascension journey, through our collective ascension journey, but again, from the inside out, from our individual to the collective. From our own journey, it has that ripple effect. The more that we change within ourselves and shift within ourselves, the more it creates that healing, that embodiment, and even that leadership for others, because you're leading by that example. You're leading through that embodiment. So the only way to win is not to play. Because if you're looking at, for example, war, then what's on the other side of war? It's not peace, it's just more war that perpetuates and perpetuates and perpetuates, because war perpetuates the division. But the antithesis to that war is peace. And the more we bring about peace, the more, just like love begets love. The more you love, it's not lacking. The more that you express love, it's not like you're not going to have any for yourself. The more love that you have to give, the more love there is. It just keeps going and going and going. Love is never wasted. Love just is expansive. And the same goes for peace, because peace is an aspect of love. And so peace is never wasted. And so the more love you have to give, the more love there is, the more love you'll receive, the more love you'll have to give. And they reminded me that is that yin-yang energy as well. That's the masculine and the feminine energy as well. So with the masculine energy being that giver energy and the feminine energy being the receiver energy, the more the masculine gives, the masculine energy we're talking about, the more the masculine energy gives, the more the feminine receives. She multiplies that and she gives it back in numerous ways. Maybe she gives it back to the masculine, maybe she gives it back to the world, but it multiplies. That's the union. So love begets more love. The more love you give, the more love you express, the more love you embody. That love goes everywhere. The same goes for peace. So there are no winners and there are no or losers. That's just the us versus them mentality. That's just the scarcity mentality, the separation mentality. When we're looking at competition and games, there's always a lower vibrational way that you can look at things. It's all a shift in perspective, it's all a shift in consciousness, and there's a higher energy that you can look at things. What are games? Games is play. And what is play? Play is an aspect of love. Competition, what is competition? It motivates us to be better. It motivates us to do more. But then that's the higher vibrational aspect, right? But then you can look at it from the lower vibrational aspect, which is where we've collectively been. Competition is that scarcity mindset. I have to do more. I have to be better than, right? No, competition is a motivating factor saying, how can we lift each other up? How can I do better personally? How can I shift into more? And how can somebody teach me or mentor me? I'll give you a quick example. Anytime I feel like I'm in competition with somebody else, I use it as a trigger and I say, okay, where am I being triggered? Where is this competition within me being triggered? And what is it showing me? And it's showing me, oh, that's what I want to be, or that's what I want to do. And how can I motivate me? How can I motivate myself to be better? How can that motivate me and inspire me to shift? So competition can be healthy if used for healthy purposes. But if I was in the lower vibrational consciousness, then I would just be in that scarcity and that lack, and that feeds resentment, right? That feeds a lower density energy. That feeds envy. That feeds greed. It feeds all those lower density energies. Use competition as a motivating factor, as an inspiration for your journey. The same goes with, again, games and play. Games can be that divisionary energy, it can be that competition energy, or it can be, let's play together, let's create together. So it's all about perspective, it's all about how we look at it. And so with the phrasing, the only way to win is not to play, the only way to win is not to give in to that lower density mindsets, those lower consciousness energies. The only way to play, or the only way to win, is not to create that division, is not to create more separation. And so you can look at this collectively, or you can look at this within your own world, within your own individual life. Where is the division? Where is the separation? And where can you remove yourself and disengage from that division and from that separation? Again, that takes shifts in mindset, shifts in perspective, shifts in behaviors, shifts in actions, shifts in beliefs. It takes a shift within you. But the more that you shift within you, the more that has a ripple effect. The more that you choose to see the unity in all, that everybody has a role to play, the more you're able to create more of that unity consciousness. Lastly, reminded of Doctor Who. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I love Doctor Who. And the Ninth Doctor is my favorite Doctor. He was the first Doctor that I was introduced to. The Doctor Who is a BBC production that follows a Time Lord across space and time in his space box called a TARDIS. And he goes back in time, he goes to other planets, and it's just a beautiful, really bridging spirituality with humanity. There's a lot of humanity in that show. There's a lot of metaphysics in that show. There's a lot of profound, even philosophy within that show. And the first season of the reboot, the Ninth Doctor, is my favorite and will always be, because the writing was just so profound from a universal perspective. And so there's a episode called The Doctor Dances, and it was set in World War II time, and shenanigans, hijinks, stuff for the plot, but it's a profound episode, and I'll get to why in a minute. I just want to backtrack for a minute. So the Ninth Doctor came about. He's the first. This is a show that comes back from the 60s, 50s and 60s, I think, but they rebooted it in 2005 with the Ninth Doctor. And the Ninth Doctor, he regenerates, so he can't be killed because he's a Time Lord, but he regenerates. New face, maybe similar mannerisms, but he continues to regenerate. Um, Reincarnation energy, anyone, right? That's reincarnation energy. So he's something like 900 years old as a ninth doctor, and the ninth doctor regenerates because there was the time war. And so the eighth doctor was the war doctor. And so as we're going through this reboot, the first season of this rebooted series, you have the ninth doctor, and he is goofy and he is funny, but he also carries with him kind of those scars and the wounds of that time war that he lived through. And just to put it really briefly, he goes through some healing as well. His companion helps him to heal some of those wounds and kind of revisit some of his humanity. Now he's not a human, but he has these humanistic energies about him. You know, he is perhaps very humane, and so the ninth doctor in this episode, uh, one of the cruxes of Doctor Who is that you can't save everybody. But in The Doctor Dances, he exclaims, "Everybody lives. Just this once, everybody lives." That's this beautiful energy of everybody wins. Everybody wins. And it doesn't have to be just this once. Everybody can win. That's the unity consciousness. It doesn't have to be me versus you. It doesn't have to be us versus them. It doesn't have to be that divisionary energy, that separatist energy. And they're calling me back again to how I said the Civil War versus the Vietnam War. And what is a Civil War? But it is, you know, on the grand landscape, it is, you know, a divided country. However, where is that division felt within ourselves? Where are we divided within ourselves? Where are we separate from ourselves and each other? You always bring it back to the core. You always bring it back to you. The more we heal within ourselves, the more we heal that separation consciousness within ourselves, and the more everybody heals that separation consciousness within themselves, it has that ripple effect. What they're showing me is a match, and one flame is all it takes. I think I have that in my message deck, my conversations with the universe. I channeled that message a long time ago. One flame is all it takes to ignite a revolution in love. Just one spark. One spark is all it takes. So you have a lit match, right? And what happens when there are other matches? That one spark, that one flame ignites all those other matches. But it starts within, not externally, not by somebody else. It starts with you. It starts with us. And it has that ripple effect into oneness. What is oneness? It is the one, right? It is the one that has that ripple effect. It is you. And when I'm saying you, I mean everybody. Everybody plays their part. And the more you spark light that match and create that spark within you for more love, for more oneness, for more unity, releasing the division, releasing the separation. Again, look within yourself. Where is that disconnect? Where is that division? Where is that separate energy? The more you heal that, the more you are having that ripple effect on the collective. The only way to win is not to play. Where is that war within ourselves? And how can we bring more peace to ourselves? And that's what Mars and Venus is showing us, especially the Mars-Venus conjunction with that unity energy, the weaving together of the threads. And they're bringing me to a channeling that I did a long time ago called the Healer Warrior. The Healer Warrior is that masculine and feminine energy. The warrior being the masculine, the healer being the feminine. And what happens when you bring that together? It is a new template of oneness. It is a new template of unity. It is a new template of union. Again, you have both masculine and feminine energies within you, especially for those who identify as twin flames on the sacred union path of ascension. You're both the healer and the warrior within you. But the masculine energy is a template of the warrior. Brave, bold. It's that Mars energy. Brave and bold, but look at the higher vibrational aspects of Mars. Look at the higher vibrational aspects of that planet. Assertive, action-oriented, directive. And what is the Venus energy? Venus energy is balance, cooperation, reciprocity. It's that healer energy that tempers the fiery energy of Mars, bringing them both into balance, bringing them both into union. Bringing it back to these cards, the Angel of Addiction Healing. This is a time of positive transformation and healing. The addiction is the patterns, the mindsets, the beliefs. It could be actual behaviors, it could be actual addictions, habits, etc. But it's more about the shift in energy. Where are you healing the energy within yourself? Where are you bringing it back to oneness? And look at this energy. It reminds me of a tree. And that's the root. That's the root of you. That's the core of you. You're bringing up all that soul sludge. What they're showing me is an energy of, in the fall, how the trees lose their leaves, right? It falls to the ground and the leaves go back into the earth, decay, and compost back into the earth. But the tree itself still stands. That is you. That is your soul. That is the truth of who you are. You are rooted. You are rooted in your spiritual nature. You are rooted in your connection to God's source. You're rooted in your connection to the universe. That is unshaking, unwavering. But what falls? What falls away is all those old beliefs and patterns, and we have to allow for that shift. We have to allow for that cycle. We have to allow for that transformation to come back into oneness. So this is a time of healing and transformation. Don't resist that cycle, because the only thing that you're resisting is the comfort zone. You're stepping out of the comfort zone. You're stepping out of the familiar and what you think you know. You're allowing for the expansion. This is still you. You're still anchored in. You're still going to be you. You're just going to shift into a higher frequency, into a higher and better version of yourself, into a transformed version of yourself. You're going to embody the soul of yourself. And so you're still going to be standing firm in who you are. You're still going to be you. You're just going to shake away anything that is no longer serving you. All those old beliefs, those old templates, etc., that might have served you at one point on your journey, but doesn't serve you anymore as we're shifting more and more into unity. So lots happening. February, we were channeling, is going to be a major month of transformation, major turning points. Hang in there and allow for the surrender, for the transformation, because what's on the other side is amazing. What's on the other side is beautiful. What's on the other side, I'm hearing, is you. Is you. Is more of you, more of the soul of you. What's on the other side is unity. I almost forgot that I did want to give you guys some actionable tips for navigating these energies, because February, again, is a really wild month when it comes to these energies. And I had actually said that it might feel a little bit chaotic without reasonable explanation. We provided some explanations for why the energy might be feeling a little bit chaotic, but it is because there's so much that is shifting energetically. So don't try to analyze it. Don't try to resist it. Just kind of go with the flow of these energies and allow for the energies to release. Kind of be the observer, be the witness to yourself, and allow for the energies to flow and channel those energies in really healthy and productive ways. So I just wanted to mention some actionable tips and tricks for helping to navigate this energy. Especially if you are sensitive to collective energies, or even just cosmic energies or energies within yourself, making sure that you're grounding, centering yourself, balancing yourself is going to be huge as far as support. So some helpful tips to help you through these transformative rebirth cycles is really what it is. It's a rebirth. This ascension is just constant evolution and constant rebirth. So I had channeled this on my social media platforms. You can check it out there. Mindfulness exercises. When the energy around you feels chaotic, practice being in a state of presence to help you find your balance. Breath work. Your breath is your sacred connection to divine source. Take deep, mindful breaths, connecting with your higher heart. You can do meditations, guided meditations, just really paying attention to your breath, paying attention to your energy. And I'm also hearing just bringing that energy into the higher heart space, bringing that energy, channeling that energy into the heart. I'm also hearing that you can channel that energy into your sacral chakra for that creative energy. Now, the sacral chakra, making sure that's balanced, because your sacral chakra are also the emotions. And when you have repressed energies, that's when it could come up in like a purge. That's when it can come up in like an outburst, tantrums, into just upsurges of emotions. So making sure that you're with the sacral energy, that's your creative center, making sure that you're channeling that into healthy and productive ways. Journaling, writing, art, um, music, whatever that is, just channeling those emotions in healthy, productive ways. Grounding. Go for a walk in nature, hug a tree, run your fingers through plant soil. If you're not able to go outside, if you have any plants in your house, just, dip your fingers in some plant soil. And I'm also hearing like the breath exchange from the plants as well. With plants, they receive our carbon dioxide and they give us the oxygen. So there's that beautiful exchange as well. So commune with your plants as well. Take a shower or a sea salt bath, spend a few moments in direct sunlight, move your body. The most important thing that I'm learning is moving the body, getting the energy out. Stagnant energy creates a discord within the body. So dance, walk, exercise, stretch, play, get the energy flowing again, and express yourself. That's part of that creative energy. Emotions are energy. Express yourself and release the emotion in healthy and creative ways. So I want to read this as well. With energetic purges come heightened emotions as we release past energies and clear outdated programs. This release can trigger a temporary emotional imbalance, which can lead to outbursts and upsurges in anger or grief, and varying degrees of each, depending on what's being released. Become an observer of these emotions you're feeling and know they won't last for long. They won't last forever. These feelings are the release of stored energy that may have been suppressed for months, weeks, years, decades, lifetimes, that then affects our mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical health. The more self aware you are, again, your awareness is your superpower. The more self aware you are, the easier you can navigate the process in healthy and productive ways. Don't be afraid of the emotions as you sit in the temporary discomfort of what you're feeling. Turn to a community, counselor, or a trusted friend for additional support to help you hold space for this process. Use creative outlets such as writing or art to express your emotions. You can practice stream of consciousness journaling. That's my favorite. You can do art. You can do music. Anything that lets you get the emotions out without any judgment and without any shame, because that's the most important thing. No judgment, no shame. Allowing yourself to express yourself, allowing yourself to express your emotions in healthy, productive ways without judgment and without shame. Just getting the emotions out so that you can reflect on them and come back to kind of like a more even, peaceful, healed way of being, a more conscious, mindful way of being. This is about the process, not perfection. So just let the energy flow. And then we said, remember that you are not your thoughts or your emotions. You are safe, you are held, and you are loved. All right, I am sending you all so much love and so much light, and we'll see you next time.